said, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand, who is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away. And the wolf snatches them and scatters them. The hired hand runs away because a hired hand does not care for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it up again. I have received this command from my Father. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. Shepherds and sheep. Today is Good Shepherd's Day as we celebrate it in the church here. And I think we all recognize that when we heard the 23rd Psalm. It is a psalm that is one of the most comforting psalms, I think, of all time. I know that I've mentioned before that there was a time a few centuries ago that the 23rd Psalm was the most requested psalm to be used during a wedding service. Not during the funeral, but during the wedding. Because it speaks of such great hope, and it speaks about how during this life we need not fear, because God is with us. If we listen to what Jesus was teaching us this morning, he was talking about a shepherd and his sheep. That his sheep would know the voice of the shepherd. And if he would just call their name, they would follow him wherever he went. They also knew that the shepherd would never lead them astray. They knew that wherever the shepherd went, that means that there would be provisions for food and water, and that's pretty much all that sheep care about, is to make sure they're being fed. God does that with us as well. He makes every provision for us. He makes sure that we have what we need if we trust in him. He gives us not only food and water, but he gives us life itself. And he protects that life just as fiercely as any shepherd would. And I know for us today it's pretty hard to imagine a shepherd being fierce. But you have to understand, back in the time that Jesus was speaking, they basically were out in the middle of the wilderness with their sheep. And at any time, not only did they have to worry about wild animals that wanted some of those delicious-looking lamb chops that were walking around, but there were also thieves that would want to take the entire herd. And so the shepherd had to be on watch constantly. The shepherd had to be vigilant so that nothing would ever happen to the sheep. And he made a distinction, a very big distinction, when he talked about shepherds and the hired hands, because, of course, he was speaking to the Pharisees and the scribes. He referred to the Pharisees and the scribes as the hired hands. They didn't like that. You see, Jesus told them that the hired hands care nothing for the sheep. All they care about is the money. You see, they were there for the payday. They really didn't care what happened to those who came to them. And they certainly were not going to go out and find those who might get lost. And that's why Jesus tells us not once but twice in this passage That he is not a hired hand, rather, he says, I am the good shepherd. I am the one who will watch over you. I am the one who is not in it for the money. I am the one who will lay down my life for you, because that's what I've been called to do. And I will fulfill that calling. Long ago I spoke about this concept of shepherd and sheep, and we talked about just how sheep can be, how they just forage for food here and there, and they get themselves in all kinds of trouble. And yet our good shepherd, as I explained to the young children, will always venture out. He will find us wherever we are, that there is no distance too great that he will not go for us. There is no enemy too strong that he will not stand up against it for us. If we trust in him, if we know his voice, we can hear, and he will guide us. He will lead us to where he would want us to be. He is not like a lot of these generals that we hear about who like to lead from behind. Rather, our shepherd is one who leads from the front. He is calling us out to follow where he himself has already been. And if he has been there, then he has prepared the way for us to follow. And he is the one whom I choose to follow. I remember hearing a story once, and I've shared this with you. I know I have. I've had to have sometime in the course of this most recent history of ours. But I remember the story talked about a tiger and a fox. And a fox, of course, is a pretty crafty character, and a fox thinks it knows pretty much better than everybody else. Likes to outsmart all the other animals in the woods and in the jungle. Well, one day this fox was going along, and he didn't pay enough attention to what was going on right behind him. For the next thing he felt was this big paw wrapped around his throat. And the next thing he saw were the giant fangs of a tiger. And of course, being a crafty little animal, he said, "Tiger, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm about to have lunch, and you're invited." The fox says, "You can't eat me." And the tiger said, "Why not?" The fox says, "Because I'm the king of the jungle." The tiger looked at him after he got done laughing a little bit. He says, "I don't think so." Fox says, "I can prove it to you." He says, "How are you going to do that?" He says, "You put me down, and every animal that we come up to, you see how they react when I walk by." Tiger says, "I ain't going to fall for that. You're just going to run away." Fox says, "No, I'll tell you what. I'm going to make this easy for you. Wherever I go, you walk right behind me. See what happens." Well, the tiger figured, why not? And so he put that fox down, and he says, "Look, you're going to be right where I can get you. And if you cross me, I'm going to take you out right here and now." Fox says, "A deal." So the fox started walking through the jungle, and they came up to an elephant. All of a sudden, the elephant reared up and ran away, terrified. Tiger thought, They kept on going. They came up to a lion, of all things. And as the fox got closer to the lion, all of a sudden the lion looked in horror in their direction and ran off. Every time the fox would approach any animal, it got the same reaction until finally the tiger grabbed the fox once more, looked at it and said, "I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you were the king of the jungle. Please go free and forgive me." Of course, the fox started laughing as he ran away. You see, the fox knew that, of course, all of these animals were not afraid of him. It afraid of the guy behind him. You see, that's where the real strength was. That's where the power was. It wasn't in the fox. Fox wasn't dumb, but he was smart. You see, the fox knew who it was that was indeed in charge. The fox knew who it was that others feared. The fox knew that the strength of that tiger would be the one that would chase away all the others. You see, that's how I kind of look at my shepherd. That he has that strength and that presence. And that I need not ever fear, because as I walk with him, he is with me. Who should I fear? What should I fear? Nothing. For God is with us wherever we go. His power goes with us, and he promises he will be with us even until the end of days. And as we walk through that jungle, sometimes we cannot even see where we're going, and yet if we trust that our shepherd is with us, there is nothing to worry about. Those shadows, those unseen things, those rumors, those things that make us most afraid, we need not worry. Because our God walks with us. Our good shepherd protects us and cares for us. Now, where did we get the image of being a shepherd? Well, let's see what Isaiah's got to say about it this week. Isaiah chapter 40 said, "He will feed his flock like a shepherd. He will gather the lambs in his arms, and he will carry them in his bosom, and gently lead those that are with young." I think that's a very good imagery of what our God does. That our God is watching over us, that he is protecting us. That when we do walk with him those days that, for whatever reason, we find ourselves without strength. We find ourselves hurting in many ways. When we find that we can no longer go on, we know that God will carry us. That it will be God's strength that lifts us up. That he will lift us up, especially during those dark, dark days, and he will be the one that carries us. That he will see us through. That even when we fail, God will not. And that there is nothing that we could ever do. There is no place that we could ever go that God is not willing to come and find us. And not only find us, but to protect us. And not only to protect us, but most importantly of all, to love us. To care for us, to nurture us. And just as a good shepherd, he was willing to lay down his life for us. That was his choice. He chose to do that for you and for me. He said that he would, and he meant it. And he did it. And by doing so, he wanted all people to know that God loves them. In doing so, he wanted them to know that they need not ever be afraid of God, but that they could trust in God. That God was a God who actually loved. He wasn't a God of anger. He was not a God that we had to try and appease. Rather, he is a God of love. A God who will get us out of whatever we get ourselves into if we trust. And if we call upon his name, he shall be there. And even when we don't call upon his name, he is there as well. That during those days and nights, when things seem to happen, we need not worry. That our good shepherd walks with us. He will never demand from us anything that he hasn't already given himself. I pray that we might truly begin, and if we are not at our beginning, at least to reestablish that relationship with God. so that we might truly know his voice, that we might truly hear this good shepherd calling us, and wherever he is, we might seek to be. And here's the thing, that our good shepherd may be in the person next to us. Our good shepherd might be in the person that we see across the street. Our good shepherd might be in someone that we have just met. And so we might really need to pay attention. Because when we start to see Christ in others, well, then we start to treat them a little bit differently. You see, God is that God of inexplicable love. That's the God